Greetings, Rising Star. My name is Shayla Prescott, and I am joined today with Dr. Crump and Veronica, two medical professionals who have been in the business for over 20 years, maybe a little longer. We wanted to use this time just to bring you all some information we feel like you all should know regarding COVID and the COVID vaccination. There are a lot of questions, concerns, fears, apprehension in regards to what should be done, how should we proceed as we adjust to this new life that we're learning to live. So very quickly, very briefly, we are going to answer just a few questions that we think you might have, see if we can relieve some of your anxious thoughts, give you some clarity and guidance as to where we're going to go from here to best resume life or retain a sense of normalcy. So let's go ahead and kick it off. First question is going to go to Veronica. How do we know that these vaccines are safe when they are so new?
Well, with anything, we know that there are side effects, but the benefits are always going to outweigh the benefits will always outweigh the risk when we're talking about vaccinations, because we have to realize that this is a pandemic. This is not something that's local, it's global. And they're coming up with these vaccines to hopefully eliminate or get a handle on this pandemic. So with any other medication, such as your medication for your high blood pressure or for your diabetes, it's made by pharmaceutical companies. So we take those every day and we trust them when we take those. So we have to put our trust in these vaccines as well. We know that nothing is 100% effective, but we have to trust our science, because what we do is science, and I do believe in science. And so in saying that, they're just as safe as anything else that we put in our bodies that, manufacturers have made.
Okay. And then some would say, don't you think that they could cause problems that we don't know about yet?
Sure, absolutely. They absolutely can. But again, the benefits are going to outweigh the risk. There are risks with anything. You take Tylenol, it tells you on the bottle there are adverse effects. So yes, there are adverse effects or risks that may happen, but you have to take that chance when you're afforded the opportunity for the vaccine.
And then what about the long-term problems that they could cause?
We really haven't seen any long-term problems, I don't think, because the vaccine is not that old just yet.
Right.
So we're kind of going to have to wait and see what the data is on that.
Right.
So I really can't speak to that, but
yeah, I agree. I like to piggyback off of that. We haven't seen any long-term problems with the vaccine because, like you said, it is new, but we have started to see long-term problems with COVID, and so I think you have to weigh the outcomes. I know what COVID can do. I don't quite know what the vaccine can do, but if the vaccine can protect me against what COVID can do, then maybe it is something to consider.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I read it? Can I
Absolutely.
just interrupt?
Of course,
Veronica?
it's a dialogue.
Dr. Crump?
Basically, the vaccine was put through a test before it came on the market. I know it was a very rapid vaccine if we compare it to previous vaccines.
Right.
And I think I read that the mumps vaccine, which is an entirely different vaccine than the COVID vaccine, was put in place after 4 years of study. And we're talking about, with the COVID vaccine, a very, very short period of time. In fact, this is the quickest a vaccine has reached the market. And why is that? Well, that's because of the pandemic, number one, but I want to reiterate that the vaccine did undergo trials. There are 3 phases of trials that have to be done for any vaccine. And because these trials were done, if we look at the phase 1 trial, they take just healthy volunteers to see what effect it had on the volunteers. Any adverse side effect, they would have pulled it off the market. No bad adverse side effect was found in phase 1. So then they go to phase 2 trials, and they test people with chronic disease. Of course, the chronic disease people are the ones that are suffering the worst with the COVID infection. They're the ones that are dying. So they looked at diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and individuals with those chronic illnesses. And they found that it was tolerable and safe, and it was efficacious. And then the third phase of the trials, they take vast numbers of volunteers and just to see if it was effective in starting their immune system so that they develop resistance to the COVID vaccine. And that's where you get the numbers that will come up as to their efficacy or their ability to prevent infection. We'll talk about a little bit later on.
Okay.
So it's not something that they just threw on the market and said, yes, this is going to work. They did do the testing.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that, Dr. Crump.
Absolutely. So with that being said, what are the side effects of the vaccine?
Well, what we're seeing with the side effects, they're more like flu-like symptoms because, again, it's a virus. And so you have the runny nose, the mild fever, chills, just mild symptoms, but nothing
Compared to COVID?
exactly compared to the symptoms we have seen from people who have contracted the disease.
And maybe our tenderness at the injection site?
Yes, some arm pain, exactly.
All right, perfect.
One other, I'm sorry.
No,
okay.
I want to add this. Social media has put across some adverse side effects such as anaphylaxis. What anaphylaxis is, you get very short of breath
Right.
from an allergic reaction to the vaccine, and it's mainly due to some ingredient that accompanies the vaccine that you have to give when you give a shot. Now, people that have this bad reaction to it generally can't take vaccines at all. And it happens very, very rarely, but this is what you see in social media, these bad reactions, and I think I've read about 3 of them happening in the millions that have taken it so
Right.
far. So it's not really any side effects worth mentioning, actually. It's like Veronica says, you have maybe light flu-like symptoms for a day. It lasts one day, and it's a 2-shot system. I'm telling you, I took the shot, and I took the Moderna shot, and I had some symptoms like the flu. I had some aching, a little bit of low-grade temperature for one day, for even a half a day. So they're not anything that you need to worry about, and Tylenol works just as good as anything.
Exactly.
Can you still get COVID-19 after taking the vaccine? And can you still spread COVID after taking the vaccine?
Well, we know that a vaccine is not 100% effective.
Right.
So yes, you can still get COVID after taking the vaccine. The thing with the vaccine is it decreases your chances of contracting or spreading the disease. Can you still spread the virus after getting the vaccine? I'm gonna let Dr. Crump speak on that one.
The vaccines that are available, the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, which have been given out in this community and across the country, are 95% effective. What do I mean by 95% effective? They're 95% effective in not getting the infection. But what happens to the other 5%? Well, yes, you can still get the COVID infection if you took the vaccine, but in all likelihood, the amount of disability or illness that you're going to get is going to be tremendously reduced because of you've already developed some resistance, but not enough to prevent the infection. So, if you do take the vaccine, doesn't put you into the, doesn't say that you're not going to get it anymore, but 5% is opportunity for that vaccine to not be effective in preventing COVID infection. And unfortunately, COVID, you can be asymptomatic.
Absolutely.
So you have to wear your mask even if you had your vaccine. So there's a 5% chance you can still get the infection. Probably it's not going to be as severe as the infection that put you in the hospital, but you still have to wear your mask after the injections of the vaccines.
Awesome. So we know that there are 2 vaccines available presently, the Moderna and the Pfizer, and then Johnson & Johnson are having clinical trials for their vaccine. And so I think some are wondering which is most effective. Which one should I get? What would you say to them?
I would say the Moderna and the Moderna and the Pfizer are very comparable. The one that Johnson & Johnson is going to come out with an emergency use authorization probably won't be as efficacious or effective in preventing infection. But if that's available, I would suggest that you take it, because what has been shown is that they prevent severe infection. The infections that put you in the hospital, that put you in the ICU, that kills you. So there's a place for that vaccine also. But that's not available just yet.
Right.
It's going to be available in the very near future.
Okay.
Are they
Once
still
it goes through the FDA,
Okay, that's right.
which the FDA is very strict on what they are approving. Even though this is emergency use, they are looking at that information very closely before they approve it.
Okay.
How can I get a vaccine, and then when will the vaccines be available? That's a common question.
Yeah, it's one that I don't know if we really have the answer to.
Right.
We know that the high-risk population, 65 and older, are those that are being considered first. There is some information that is being published in the newspapers on a regular basis, but it's just hard to follow where you can schedule the vaccine.
Absolutely.
So Dr. Crump, you got some information to piggyback?
Vaccine is now being seen in local pharmacies, the chain pharmacies, and some of the local pharmacies in Griffin have, I think, a couple of them have.
I think Walmart is
Yeah,
one of them.
Walmart, that's a chain vaccine, but some of those private drugstores have had it, but it goes very, very quickly.
Yes.
So you have to be lucky enough to call that pharmacy and see if you can get on a waiting list type thing. But the pharmacies are now picking up vaccines, but there's a vaccine shortage, and let's be honest about it. We were poorly prepared for this COVID infection. We don't have enough vaccine available at present time to give it to everybody that wants it. So it'd be to your advantage when you get that phone call to come get the vaccine to do it, because you don't know when the next shipment of vaccine is going to be available. And right now it's the 65 and over population that has been getting the vaccine, or listed as to get the vaccine. And there's just not enough to vaccinate all the 65 and over at present time. So what the Wellstar, the local hospital in Griffin, is doing is vaccinating the 65, the first shot. Of course, it's a 2-shot system. And the second shot, they're saving enough vaccine to give them the second shot. They're not, at this point, they're not scheduling other 65 years old people that have not received the vaccine yet until they get more vaccine in. And that's coming shortly, we hope.
Yes. Does the COVID vaccine protect against the new variants that we are seeing in the news?
So far, so good.
Okay.
The vaccine appears to be effective against the mutated virus or the variants. But is that going to hold forever? I kind of doubt it. The viruses mutate very quickly. By mutating, it means it changes its appearance. So we don't know how long that's going to hold.
Right.
But right now, the vaccine is effective against all the variants that we know. The South American variant, the United Kingdom variant, and Venezuela variant. So far, so good, but I would be suspicious of it lasting for very long. So we need to get everybody vaccinated is the key. If you get everybody vaccinated, there's no chance for it to mutate, because the virus won't be living in the community.
Right.
So vaccination of the population is very, very important.
And then I think this is the last question. So I think some are wondering, is the vaccine going to be like the flu shot? Are you going to need it yearly? Is it going to be like the tetanus shot? Are you going to need a booster? What do you think about that? Or do we have any concrete answers for that right now?
I don't think so. I think the vaccine is too new to tell.
Okay.
We don't know, even patients that have had the COVID vaccine who do get better and develop immunity, we don't know how long the immunity is going to last.
Right,
The
right.
virus is so new, it has not been studied for that long, so we don't know whether you can get reinfected once your immunoglobulins, or your ability to resist infection, goes away. Is it going to go away? We don't know. We don't know how long the vaccine is going to last.
Right, right.
how long it keeps your immunity up. All those things are just too new to tell right now. So it's just a wait and see type thing. We don't know yet.
Okay. Well, that concludes our panel discussion today. We hope that this has been informative for you and that you have learned something. Continue to do your research, continue to wash your hands and wear your mask, and social distance. And we are faithful and prayerful that we're going to see this to the end and that better days are ahead. So we love you and God bless you.